All right, so 8.3 is proving triangles similar by side, 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 and side, angle, side. So remember that in polygons, when they're similar, the sides are proportionate and the angles are congruent. So when we say side, 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 we're saying all sides proportionate. And when we're saying side, angle, side, we're saying that two sides are proportionate and the included angle is congruent. So remember, the included angle is the angle that's in between the two sides. Okay, so some of them it'll just be, you know, I think it says determine, yeah. Determine whether the triangles are similar. So if we had ABC, DFE, so is triangle ABC similar to triangle DEF? So it's kind of nice, like if you understand the similarity, this is what's called a similarity statement. That'll come into play later, but if you just remember that, like, well, the A goes with the D and the B goes with the E and the C goes with the F, that can be helpful in terms of determining which sides go with which sides. Also remember, when you have all three values for all three sides, the ones that correspond have to be, you go shortest with shortest and longest with longest kind of thing. So, we have 8 and 6, and then we have 12 and 9, and we have 16 and 12. And so when we reduce them, so divide by 2 on the first one, divide by 3, then divide by 4, we get all of them reducing to the same scale factor. So they're similar. So if one of those was different, then the two triangles would not be similar. Okay, and on these, really, because you're just kind of determining, does it reduce to the same thing, you could put 6 over 8 and 9 over 12 and 12 over 16, and they would all reduce to 3/4. So I don't think, let me double check before yeah, it just says, are they similar? So if it asks for scale factor, then you would need to put the bigger number on top because the larger triangle is written first and the smaller one second. But if it just says, are they similar, then it doesn't matter which one you put on top, which one you put on the bottom, as long as you're being consistent. Okay. So then you'll move on to some that sides. Then you would need to do something like this, where you write all three ratios and see if they all reduce to the same thing. If you're given information with angles, it's going to say find the value of x that makes the triangles similar. You're essentially just going to solve for x. Okay, so we have x's in both triangles, on sides. So it's proportionate, so we need to write a proportion. So when you look at this, there's three sides. You just need to pick two from each triangle. So be smart about your choices. In that, I noticed that 4 goes with 12. The other ones, like the 8 on the bottom over here, goes with 3 and then x minus 1. So that has a variable involved. And then the x minus 1 goes to the 18. That has a variable involved also. So I don't want to choose those ones, because then I have an x and then I have another x, and it just makes the solving more difficult. So I want to pick the two sides that have just numbers to work with, because it's going to be easier to solve it. Okay, and then I'll pick the x minus 1 and the 18. So you could set it up as 4 x minus 1, since they're in the same triangle, and then the 4 goes with the 12 over 18. If you notice, the 4 and the 18 are still diagonal, and the 12 and the x minus 1 are still diagonal. Okay, so that's why you have options. But so what I would do in either one is for sure reduce. So I kind of like the top one better, to be honest, because when I reduce it, 4 over 12, I can divide by 4, and I get 1/3. And just the numbers look a lot nicer. Okay, but you are going to need to be careful of something here. When we do the diagonals, 1 times 18 is 18, and then this is 3 times x minus 1. So it's not just 3 times the x. So you need to distribute, and then we can solve. Okay, so back up here, make sure we do both. You'll get 7 if you did the other one. You would just reduce here, you would divide by 6, and you would get 2/3, which they're both about the same, probably. I mean, it's not like the numbers are super difficult to work with, but you'll still get 7. Okay, so just make sure that you pick numbers that go together. Okay, so then with lengths of after that, we'll get into some problems that involve side angle side. Okay, and so determine if the two triangles are similar. If they are, write a similarity statement. So remember with side angle side, the angles have to be congruent. So 112 and 112. That would be where I would start, because if the angles are different, you're done. We don't have the information for how long RS is or how long KJ is. So there's no way to determine if all three sides are proportionate. So if you start with the angles and they're not congruent, you don't need to go any farther. All right, so then you want to look at the sides, and are they proportionate? So I think it's clear that like the 8 goes with the 10. And so then when I simplify that, I would get 4 over 5. And then I have 18 over 24. I could divide by 6. And I get 3/4, so they don't reduce to the same thing. So these ones are not similar. Okay, so just remember on the one where it does say write a similarity statement, that the letters just have to go in order like we talked about before. So however you start the first triangle, the second triangle has to follow the same like pattern. Okay, so for instance, if these were similar, and I said triangle TSR, then the second one I'd have to follow that same pattern. So the 112 is T, so I'd have to start with L. And I went TS, which is the short way, so then I have to go LKJ. Okay, and so the similarity statement, if you wrote it, would, you'd make similar and then LKJ. Okay, but these aren't similar, so that you wouldn't need to do that on that one. You would just say not similar. But if they are, just remember there's more than, there's 6 different ways that you could write a similarity statement, just depending on where you started and what direction around the triangle you went. So there's more than one answer when they are similar. Okay, so the rest of the assignment is really just, show that the triangles are similar, write a similarity statement. So if you're given information with all 3 sides, like this last one, make sure the angles are congruent. So if there's vertical angles, they're congruent. You could have a reflexive angle, like so if the same angle is in both triangles, then they're congruent, or they're just labeled congruent. Then that's good. And then you need to show that the other 2 sides are proportionate. Okay, so it's all using those 2 pieces of information. I'm sure, like I said, like vertical angles will come up, at least on a couple of the problems that I can see. And then just, kind of matching stuff up to make them proportionate. Okay, so similar to kind of some of the stuff we've been doing. All right, so hopefully you have a good Thursday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.